So my falsetto is something like that.
Welcome into another edition of Savvy Sounds. I'm Adam Gobb, and I'm here with David Brown. David's all the way in from Fayetteville, so we appreciate you taking the time to come out this way.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
David's going to be playing a little bit later on at the Rooster in Gastonia on April the 2nd, so you have a chance to go check him out live. And you're going to tell us a little bit about kind of how you got into music. I mean, we were talking beforehand. You said you've been playing for, 2 decades now, right?
Yes. I think I was 17. So the last day of 2000 was when I bought a guitar.
Wow.
No, 2000. Yeah. So
okay.
2001 would have been my first year playing guitar. And I had recently gotten into kind of rock and roll, the Beatles, you know. So anyway, there's a whole story behind this. I had come from a pretty strict childhood when I was living with my father. I moved in with my grandparents, and it was like this. It was an entirely different environment. I went from this environment of chaos and just constant yelling and screaming and just control over everything into this wide open. I still remember walking into my grandparents' house at the age of 15 probably, and there are times in your life where you feel where you know that there's a transition occurring. There was this before, and now usually it's looking back in retrospect, but this was one of those moments I felt like the sense of relief, right? And so my grandmother had the day off. My older sister was living with them, and I remember going back into her room, and she had a CD player. Now, kids, this was like 1998.
Right,
so
right.
That was a big deal. And I was like, oh my God, she's got a CD player. And lying with the, disc side up was a CD, and I turned it over, and it was Please Please Me by the Beatles, which was their first, I think, American release.
Wow. Okay.
1962, if I'm not mistaken. So I put that on, and from that first, she was just 17, man, I was hooked. And that took me back because my mother had passed when I was 9, and she was a huge Beatles fan. But, this was, 7 years later, I had kind of lost that connection. And the song, Do You Want to Know a Secret, brought back one of those early childhood memories of sitting on my mother's lap, singing that song to her, Do you want to know a secret? Ooh, ah, ooh. And that made that connection, and all of a sudden there was that moment. So as so many generations prior to me had experienced a life-changing experience from hearing the Beatles for the first time, and that was amazing. And that hooked me. So I was obsessed with the Beatles for a few years, and then I about 17 years old, I'd graduated from high school already, and I was basically still living with my grandparents, but just working and essentially doing nothing with my time. I think I was going to school for IT or something like that. And I was sitting in my boxer shorts, and my cousin, who's this long-haired hippie guy, kicks in my door, and he's like, just shut up! Don't say a word! And he runs over to my CD player, and and I was like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, I said shut up! So I shut up. And he's like, just listen to this! Listen to this! Puts on a CD, and he sets it to the track, and it was Working Class Hero by John Lennon.
Oh, wow.
So his first solo project,
right.
Plastic Ono Band. And I think that would have been 1970 or 71. Anyway. And it was the first time that, because, but prior to that, you're listening to albums like, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, right? It's got these huge symphonic parts going on behind it. I mean, that was all George Martin's work. He was back there setting up these giant symphonies and Day in the Life with this huge crescendo at the end and everything. I mean, it's amazing, but to me, that was completely untouchable. That was something that only geniuses could, and I was certainly no musical genius. And but all of a sudden, there was just this song, and that's all it is, the whole song, and him. And it's just John Lennon, his voice and his guitar. And that made that first connection. I was like, I think I could do that. I mean, then I thought I was going to be John Lennon. But at the same time, my sister, her boyfriend was a musician. He was piano player, a guitar player. Now looking back, I thought he was some kind of a rock god, but looking back, I think he was just learning, kind of piddling around with it. Mm-hmm. But he had a guitar, and he taught me my first chord, which is the easiest one, E minor. In theory, this is a chord as well, but it's a dissonant chord that nobody cares about. So this is a real chord.
Okay.
And so I'd been messing around with his guitar for a few minutes, and then one day he walked by me, and I think I was watching like the Carson Daly. Remember they used to have the top 10 countdown, yep. And then right after that was Saturday Night Live, and then I would go to work. I had a shift at a grocery store in town, and so that was just my day. And I was raised that if you go to work and you do your shift and you pay your bills, like your time is your time, Mm-hmm. And he said, "What are you doing, man?" I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to go to work." And he's like, "Well, there's this 50% off everything sale at Mars Music up in Chapel Hill. Do you want to roll up there and buy a guitar? You said you were interested." I'm down with that. So I went and I bought my first guitar, which was a little Fender, and I bought what was called a Beatles fake book, just Beatles songs with the chords named above them and little dots to where to put your fingers, and that was how I learned how to play guitar.
And the rest, as they say, is history, right?
Yeah, a lot of chaotic stories in between then and now, but yeah, you're right.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more in between each of the songs, but why don't you jump into kind of the first song that you've got for us?
Sure. This one is actually a published song, and it's called "The Devil Inside of Me." So you want me to just play it? Okay.
Jump right in.
I guess it's. All right. And you can check this out by going to my website, waywardblues.com. That's WAYWARD blues.com, and clicking on the link to your preferred streaming platform.
Sounds like you've done that.
Yeah. I have to force myself. I'll play 3-hour shows and forget to mention my name, so I have a whole script. Well, I've been wandering, searching for some place to rest my weary head and save me from my wicked fate. Back alley rendezvous, I can't stop, Lord, until I'm through, yeah. I get my fix and come undone and hide my face from the morning sun. The devil's inside of me. Lord knows he won't set me free, yeah. I fold my head before I lose and make life or death mine to choose. The devil's inside of me. Lord knows he won't set me free, yeah. I put the blade across my flesh because I'll never be free until the day that I'm dead, yeah. Ooh, yeah. I drag the blade across my flesh because I'll never be free until the day that I'm dead.
That was awesome. Tell us a little bit about kind of how you developed your style. You talked a little bit about the Beatles influencing your music, but there's obviously, I mean, with kind of this bluesy, kind of folksy Americana almost in there. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a mix mash. There's a lot of haphazard. I mean, my entire approach to music was just if you keep slapping at the strings long enough, and people don't completely run away, then eventually you'll get something right. Yeah, I think that, I mean, I didn't really consider writing songs until It was Bob Dylan's "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right." That was the song for
Okay.
me that kind of again, it was another one of those, like, there wasn't huge symphonies, there wasn't really complicated tracks and lines and layers. It was just a person with a guitar, and the lyrics really struck me as something that they weren't really that abstract. You know, this was like a very direct song. Like, he wasn't speaking about, you know, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, or,
Right.
you know, I'm trying to think of what was the Pink Floyd song that was just, anyway, you know, some of that stuff where the lyrics are just really abstract. They're about something you have to dig into. This was a very direct, you know, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if'n you don't know by now. And I was like, you can say if'n in a song? That works, man. All right. So, and of course, you know, it's Bob Dylan. He's just got this voice.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a strong singer at the time. I really hadn't even considered singing. So that's what kind of hit me. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then, of course, there was, again, kids, this was back in late 90s, early 2000s. There was a record
Hop in
store.
the Wayback Machine here.
Right. There was a record store, you know, down the street. And I used to go down there and just rifle through everything. And I had an old record player. And I think I ran across a B.B. King album of some kind. And I was like, oh, the blues, man, that's supposed to be heartfelt and soulful. But it wasn't
Right.
really something I had been raised listening to. I'm the only musician in my family.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So at least my immediate family. And so I took it home and I put it on, and yeah.
Resonated with you?
That was one of those things. I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is the direction, maybe. But it still took a long time. I mean, I joined a cover band, and we got fired from our first gig because we promised that we knew how to play, but we only knew like 3 songs. So we just repeated the 3 songs. They kicked us off the stage.
Well, you
And,
didn't say, like, I mean, you knew how to play those 3 songs. You didn't say, hey, we knew how to
I think
play
we played
everything.
them pretty crappily too, but yeah. And so, but yeah, I mean, it really just started picking up. And of course, there's Tom Petty, and that's pretty straightforward rock stuff. And so I just started playing straightforward rock music, and then eventually, there's a whole story behind this. I was going through a breakup, and it was one of those breakups where you completely trash this relationship. And you look back on it, you realize, like, oh yeah, I did that. Like, that was my fault. And there's no one else to blame.
Right.
I'm miserable. And I was playing a gig, and I think I was just playing a pretty straightforward blues song, and that was the first time I like falsettoed into the microphone. And the bass player, a guy named Corky Jones, in Fayetteville, was backing us up because our bass player wasn't available for that gig. And I remember him screaming, you know, I could hear him, and he's like, "That's it, man! Do that! Do more of that! That's how you do it, man!" I was like, "All right, cool." So, yeah, it was.
Takes a little pain, and then you find something out of it.
Yeah, the blues are easy to play but hard to master, right? I forgot who said that, but that's not my quote. So.
We'll find somebody and we'll attribute to it.
Yeah, that's probably so.
And we'll continue to plug that David's going to be here in Gaston County. He's going to be at the Rooster, downtown Gastonia, on April 2nd.
April 2nd.
And obviously, hit up his website, and I'll let you plug that again. That's waywardblues.com.
.com. waywardblues.com.
And you can obviously check out his music there. You want to leave us with one last song, and
Sure.
we will close this out. Thank you so much for coming in again and for taking time with us.
Yeah. This song is called "I'm Coming Home." If I can figure out how to play it. This is one of those songs when I started like writing it, I had to teach myself how to play this song. Like I couldn't handle the pick pattern, so I. Well, I light another smoke, and I take another toke, another shot of whiskey, till the bottle's empty. Bloodshot eyes, I can't lift my weary head, and I keep talking to myself, but everything has been said, and I'm just a weary traveler along this winding road, and my back is overburdened, but my pace I cannot slow, and the sun is burning down upon me
from the midday sky, and the sweat upon my brow is stinging in my eyes. I'm too hot-blooded to feel this cold. I'm far too young to feel this damn old. And I've so far left to roam. I'm coming home. My past is close behind me. It's gnashing at my heels. I think I've found my sanctuary over one last hill. But as I stumble closer, it disappears into the sand. And I've gambled everything I've got, now I have to fold my hand. And I'm down upon my knees and I can't manage one more step. And I fought with every ounce of strength, I'm down to my last breath. And I keep scanning the horizon, searching for my saving grace. And I pray to every God I know to take me from this place. I'm too hot-blooded to feel this cold. I'm far too young to feel this damn old. And I've so far left to roam. I'm coming home. Lying torn and battered, so near my journey's end. Quick impulse and darkened vision seems only to portend what lies beyond the misty veil, slowly closing in, are the pitch-black Plutonian shores of eternal oblivion. The inexorable hand of negation is my only guiding force, and it seems to drag me helpless ever down my fateful course. And so completely cowed is my searing palsied will that I've nothing to arrest my slide towards everlasting nil. For lo to say, my blood's run cold, and in the distance a mournful death knell tolls, and I've nowhere left to roam. I'm coming home.
A little bit of a different vibe than the first two songs, a little bit more mellow.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up in 2023? I know you talked a lot about kind of a lot of travel, playing a lot of gigs, working on new music as well.
I will. Yeah, I've got a few songs in the chamber, so nothing that I'm ready to pull the trigger yet. So maybe they're in the clip, not quite in the chamber yet.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but yeah, I've been working on. I mean, I go through these periods of depression, funk, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to write another song. This is terrible. Life is over. Maybe I've just done everything. I'm spent. I've done everything I can do. I'm terrible. I'm never going to advance anymore. And then I'll sit down and like, sometimes it's a garbage song. It's just some little, like 5-word something, but it's like, holy crap. I got something
You got
out.
something. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So I'm working on a few things, and I'm trying to, my last album, there was not an economy of words with those songs. Like the lyrics are I was reading a lot of Victorian era poetry and literature at the time, and so like that last song was a really lyrically busy song. There wasn't. So I think my next project, I'm going to try to economy of words.
Okay.
Like to say a lot with a little, and that's a challenge in and of itself. That's really the biggest thing for me is getting to the point where I'll just start writing and writing and writing, and it doesn't matter if it's garbage. If you write 10,000 words and 2 lines come out of that, that's still golden, And sometimes you have to take all, like the song Leah on my last album there's an entire notebook of just junk, like garbage. Like, oh, your eyes are beautiful like the stars. That's a stupid line. I would never put that in a song. But I turned it into, liquescent, shimmering, these kinds of things. You can change these words around and make them something more beautiful.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you making the drive out from Fayetteville, and hoping that Gaston County turns out for you when you're back here in April.
Yeah, I hope to do it. Check out my website. The site. I haven't posted the link yet for the tickets. I think it's $5 a pop. So please come out. Please see me. I will be playing originals and covers. I play a lot of Beatles, a lot of Tom Petty, some Bob Dylan thrown in the mix, And like all Bob Dylan covers, I do it completely different than he does. So I don't think anybody plays Bob Dylan.
Like Bob Dylan?
Would you want to, though?
No.
I mean, I love Bob Dylan, but do you really want to? Oh, yeah.
Not really.
Anyway.
Good deal. David Brown, thank you so much for joining us on Savvy Sounds.
Okay. Thank you.